So you're minding your own business at Allen Company, and then all of a sudden you go to work for Barry Diller?
For Barry Diller, yes.
How did he know of you?
I was a grunt analyst on a deal for Barry Diller. Barry Diller was, he was bidding against Sumner Redstone. It was a big battle in Wall Street. He was bidding against Sumner Redstone for Paramount. It was a back and forth. It was a unfriendly bid. He was not wanted, but we put up a big fight. And I got to know Barry over that period of time, and I thought to myself, if I ever have the chance to work for that person, I want to work for that person, and I got the chance eventually.
All right, so you went to work for him.
Yes.
And then ultimately, one of the companies he owned was Expedia.
Yes.
And did he own it before you joined? Or you?
I went to work for him as the deal person. And so we did a bunch of deals and brought in companies in the travel space. We bought both Hotels.com and Expedia. And they were part of the family, and they were part of the family to some extent because of the deals that we did when I came in.
All right, so you became the CEO of Expedia.
I did, yes.
And did you have any experience in being a CEO? Why did he think you'd be good at being a CEO?
He was desperate.
Okay.
So we were in a situation where one of the founders of Expedia, who was running Expedia at the time, decided, and this kind of stuff happens very naturally, which is founding a company, building a company is different from managing it and moving it into a mature state. This person decided that, hey, I'm not up for the CEO gig anymore. Barry, can you find a replacement?
You were not the first choice? Or?
I have no idea. I'd never asked him, but I raised my hand and he said yes.
Okay. All right, and at one point, the Expedia board gave you, I guess, some stock options that were worth $180 million.
I guess they did, based on theoretical values, yes.
Okay. And then all of a sudden, while you're doing a very good job running it and maybe going to get $180 million on theoretical value at some point, somebody asked you to interview for the job of being the CEO of Uber. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you say, I already have a job? Or?
Yeah, at first when I got called, I said, no way. But then I talked to a couple of friends, and you don't get too many chances as a professional or otherwise to work at and especially lead a company that I think is a part of how we live life. And I decided in this case, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I took it.
Did you tell Barry Diller you were interviewing for this?
I did. I did very early. As you know, the press was all over the place.
You don't think you could have kept it a secret, I guess?
Yeah, I couldn't. Listen, Barry, I have Barry to thank for pretty much everything in my professional career. And I could not bear the possibility of his hearing about this from some news report. So he was the first person that I called. He was pretty unhappy at the beginning. But then he called me back. We had a series of conversations. He called me back and he said, listen, I understand why you're doing this. Let me know how I can be helpful. And he was genuinely helpful as we went along this journey, and we are where we are now.
And he didn't remind you of the $180 million in stock option grants? He didn't remind you of that, or?
He understood that the reason why I would do this was not necessarily monetary.
Okay.
That it's about the job, it's about the role, and whether I could.
So you went in for the interview. Was it just one interview?
No, it was a series of interviews.
Okay, and when they said you have the job, did you say, I'm leaving $180 million on the table, and you need to?
I wish I would have had you as my lawyer in the negotiations. You would have done very well. I have zero complaints about where I am financially, and the opportunity was just too big to say no to.
Now, it's reported in the press that if you can get the market capitalization of your company to $120 billion, you get a $100 million bonus. Is that accurate?
This is a common theme in this interview, huh? I believe in performance-based pay at high levels. And so my view is if I do very well for shareholders, and I think that was an end state that the shareholders thought would be very good, that's a circumstance where I want to be rewarded. And so for me, aligning CEO pay with shareholder performance is something that makes sense long term.